Roasted Corn Summer Salsa. Hi everybody, and welcome back to the channel. If you're interested in this content, please like and subscribe and press the notification bell. The like button I think is over here, the subscribe button I think is over here, and the notification bell is right next to it, the subscribe button. So today I have a gathering to go to, and we're going to try to make cowboy caviar, but really another word for it, I would call it roasted corn summer salsa. I think that's probably a good description. Anyway, I'm going to show you this as I set it up. I tried to gather everything, or most of the things, into a bowl, and I just figured I should do this maybe in real time so you can see, or close to real time. So one of the utensils you'll need is a strainer, so I have one right here. And then we'll need salt and pepper, a can of any type of bean, or if you already have it, this is not sponsored, but this is just kidney beans, the generic kind from a grocery store. This is minced garlic. This is not the original container, but it's minced garlic, which you can also get at a grocery store. I have a bunch of tomatoes, whoops, that look really good. They're still on the vine. You don't need to have tomatoes on the vine. These just happen to be what came from the store. A purple onion. I think purple's good because it gives some color contrast. It's nice to eat the rainbow of colors. It also gives everything a little bit of a bite. I have an ear of corn. I think we might possibly have some other corn, I'm not sure. But it's fresh. It's from the farmer's market. So I think it's nice. When possible, there's white corn, there's yellow corn, but ideally you want something that's called sweet corn because it tends to have more flavor and be more robust. So that's what this looks like. And then in terms of other utensils, oh, I already can tell I forgot something. I have a can opener, which is what we need for the can of beans. I have a serrated knife, which is what you need when you're cutting tomatoes. I have another opener. I really like this opener. If I can find it online, I'll try to link it below, because I already tried to open this jar and I had difficulty. What you do is you pull it apart like this, you insert the jar, and you turn it over, and then you can unscrew it that way, so it's a little bit easier. I actually find it a lot bit easier. I have some dried Thai chilies. You could probably also use jalapeno, anything else that you like with some spice. They're dried just because they were regular chilies, not dried from the farmer's market. But couldn't get to eating all of them in time. I guess you could have probably pickled them, but instead I dried them out. So leave that for a little bit of spice. And I also have a bunch of cilantro. And cilantro has another name for it. I think it's coriander, depending on where in the world you are. Now, not everybody likes it. Some people think it tastes like soap if they have the genetic mutation for it. You can omit it and maybe substitute something else, like maybe, I don't know, oregano or parsley, but I think you're gonna miss out, and that's okay. Also, I think sometimes when cilantro is transformed in a salsa, I feel like it helps to break down some of whatever the components are that might have that difficulty. I can't say for sure. I don't have that genetic mutation. I love cilantro. I think it tastes great. But it's really going to depend on, you know, who's going to be enjoying this and whether or not it makes sense for them. But I will say, if you eat traditional, store-bought, conventional salsa or pico de gallo, chances are you've probably eaten cilantro and it's just broken down with all the vinegars and acids, either from the tomatoes or other sources. As I'm saying this, I'm also realizing I'm missing a cutting board, so I need to go figure out about that. And I also need vinegar, and I would also need tongs for the corn. You can either microwave the corn for 2 minutes per ear if you take everything off, wrap it in saran wrap, and then put it in the microwave for 2 minutes. Or you could take everything off and then try to maybe put it on a grill. That might work. Now I have a large metal bowl here that I'm going to be making the salsa in. Ideally, because it's going to be acidic, I would probably actually recommend a glass container, but where I'm at doesn't have a glass container and I didn't bring one with me, so make do with what you can. I would not recommend doing this in a plastic container because, as I said, all the acids would change and it might break down some of the plastic. I also don't really like using metal for acidic stuff either, because depending on how long you leave things sitting to marinate and whatnot, it might take on some of the metallic taste. So ideally you want an inert substance such as glass, but you do what you can. I think this is something that you could prepare in components maybe the night before if you wanted to. I wouldn't put everything together though. I would say maybe assemble things maybe like 2 hours before you're going to need it, because you need time once you have all the components together for the flavors to melt. Otherwise it's going to taste like distinct pieces of things and it's not going to be living up to as much of its true potential. It'll still be fine and good, but it just won't be excellent. So you want to give it time to like marinate within itself. So okay, so with that, I guess we'll begin. I probably need to figure out about a cutting board, so I'll be right back. Okay. I have a cutting board, and let's see. I think we probably want to do tomatoes first. So, let me think. Tomatoes or beans? Let's do beans. Because beans definitely need to be broken down, so we'll start with that. Oh, I also brought a washcloth. You could use a paper towel. You want to put this under the cutting board, so that it won't slip as much while you're trying to cut. Yes. Okay. So let's put all these ingredients back in here, and we're gonna start with the beans. Now, one of the reasons I like canned beans is because they've already cooked them for you. They've done the hard process. It's a big time saver. Now the liquid that's inside of beans, it's called aquafaba, and there's so many wonderful things you can make with aquafaba, and if I had more time I would probably save this liquid just so that I could use it for a secondary recipe, but I don't have time today, so we're just gonna dispose of this. with my strainer. And I'll just pour out the beans. Sometimes there's a little bit of remnants inside, but this one doesn't have it. If it had more remnants, I would rinse it out and pour it on top. But I'm just going to try to rinse the extra aquafaba off. Okay, next step is cutting the tomatoes. I may potentially do something a little bit different here where I don't talk through it. I'm not sure yet, so we'll see. First you put down a towel, and then a cutting board, and then actually need to rinse off the tomatoes. I used to scrape with the serrated side down, but I learned, someone taught me that you actually want to do it from the flat side down so that you don't dull the blade. It was such a weird thing, because for so many years I didn't do that, but I think it was a really helpful tip, so something to keep in mind. Also, somebody else taught me that you should, when you grip a knife, be it that way or this way, whichever way you do it, you always want to put your pointer finger just slightly on the top here it helps to stabilize things. Especially for something like this, which is slippery. So you want to be careful. You can see there's a lot of juice coming out of the tomato, which is good. Something you can actually also do, which I'm only just now remembering, is you want to remove the juice maybe before you start cutting. You don't want to throw this juice out because it has so much flavor and it's really good for the salsa. So, actually I think I might use a transition bowl in between. Transition bowl, because I actually need more bowls than I thought. So lift this try and lift this very gently. Actually, let me cut this other part. Now I'm also remembering I should have had a discard bin. All the things you don't foresee until you actually start cooking. So I'm going to lift the whole thing up, and I'm going to bring my transition bowl over to the working space, and then I'm going to try and just push it all in, including the juices where I'm able to. There we go. So I'm just going to do that with the rest of them too. It's great if you've ever grown tomatoes. Once you get water on it, it has this very distinctive garden tomato smell. Any other fellow gardeners out there will completely understand what I'm trying to describe. So I'm going to take this and we're going to try it with this one. We're going to take this and you just want to squeeze all the insides out, and then you're just kind of left with mostly the outside fleshy bit without the liquid. And now we'll try and cut it into smaller pieces. Definitely be careful because even though we have a towel underneath, it is still slippery. This is probably not the best way to cut a tomato, but it's the way I know how. So I think also this steak knife that I'm using is a little bit too small, so if you have a bigger knife that happens to be serrated blade, but not a bread knife because that's probably too long, maybe use that. Also, you do not need to get tomatoes on the vine. You can use any kind of tomato. These just happen to be the tomatoes I have today. All of these seeds, if you save them, it'll grow another tomato plant wherever you dump them. So just be careful. If you're trying to make the same tomato, that's great. Try and do that. But yeah, tomato plants are pretty notorious for being resilient, going everywhere. Yeah, this is capturing the juices inside the tomato much better than what I was doing before, so recommend that. Trying to cut sort of like in a triangle to get the stem part out. The reason you want a serrated blade on a knife is because it helps you cut the tomato, which is pretty delicate, without bruising the skin really, versus if you use something dull like a plastic knife, like you would get is like disposable cutlery or a butter knife. That would just not work very well, and you would just not be successful. You'd be more likely to cut yourself, things like that. Also, whenever possible, you want to put the flat side down on the table because it just gives you a more stable surface. Oops. On this recipe, there's no specific number of tomatoes or ingredients, other ingredients. I would say you have to do it kind of by taste. And if your taste is altered, you can ask somebody around you if it tastes okay or if it needs anything. Or you can follow along with this video and see how, oops, like that. You gotta be careful. Let me rinse my hands. Let me not try to talk while I'm doing this. at it. Now, before my brain injury, I definitely used to be able to multitask, which isn't a true thing, which I can talk about in some other episode, but basically there's no such thing as multitasking. Multitasking is a word that is just part of general layman's, lexicon. It's just part of general vocabulary. But there is no such thing as multitasking. There is such a thing as rapidly shifting sets, which we can talk about more. But basically, you want to remove external stimuli when you're trying really hard to focus on something like cutting without cutting yourself. So while I used to play music or try to talk to people or listen or watch a show in the background, I don't do that now. It'd be the very rare occasion that I do because I'm trying so hard to focus on what I'm doing. So if you're running into difficulty, one of the suggestions I would have is turn off all the external stimuli, turn off the radio, turn off the TV, turn off, if you have video on, turn off anything else external. You want to try to limit it, because it'll just get in the way and make things a lot more difficult and make it go on for a lot longer than it would otherwise need to. So this is the purple onion, and I'm going to rinse it first. I don't think we're going to need all of it. I would say we could try maybe a third of it for this amount of tomato, but we'll see. Check it out. As I rinsed that, I realized I shouldn't have rinsed the whole thing, just the part I was going to use. Oh, wow. The part with all these lines, that's the base of the onion. So what you really want to do is you want to make the first cut. So I'm going to say it's this. Actually, this is way too, I can't use that. Okay, big knife. You just want to break off the part that you want to use. This is actually probably a little bit too small. Oh, I can smell it already. I forgot onion smell. And just go like that. Break it off. And that's the part you actually want to wash. You shouldn't wash the whole thing if you're not going to use it right at that moment. So, sorry about that. I'll have to just not do that. And then just cut off the ends that you don't want. You can peel off the outer layer that's dry. There we go. And we're still going to go rinse it just a little bit. What I'm doing here is I'm cutting not all the way to the end. I'm cutting most of the way over, which is slices. It's because it'll give it a little bit of something to hold on to and maybe not be as messy while I try to. So a tip that a friend gave me a bit ago, when you're doing onions, if you want to minimize the amount of tearing that you have with your eyes, aside from, wearing goggles or something, is to take the onion that you're going to use and soak it in a bowl of water for a bit and just leave it there. It'll help. And I've tried it since, and it actually does help, so that's pretty cool. Something I forgot to do, but I'm gonna do right now, is salt the tomatoes. Now, whenever you're cooking, not baking really, but whenever you're cooking, you want to season along the way. I'm just gonna put that knife right there, take this up. Yep. So I just have a salt mill, just sea salt. I'm gonna put in some, but not too much. Now I'm also remembering I should have had a spoon, but I don't have one. So I'm just gonna swirl it around. This salt will help to draw out the moisture from the tomatoes and give us more of a sauce. I'm gonna put in the onion. Looks great. And I'm going to throw in the beans. So you can start to break those down. And let's get the cutting board again. Now, the amount of spice that you put in can really vary based on what you want. I'm going to put in some. Some meaning whatever these chilies come out to tasting like. Whenever you deal with chilies or peppers or anything like that, you want to make sure you wash your hands throughout. Do not touch your eyes, do not touch your face. So I'm just going to rinse these. I'm going to chop off the ends. Now, remember that it's mostly stems and seeds that are spicy. I don't know if you can see it, but there's a lot there. So I'm actually going to shake out most of the seeds because I don't want something too spicy. And then I'm just gonna lightly chop them. So as I'm doing this, I'm realizing this is actually a point where using a kitchen shears or kitchen scissors would probably be helpful. Wash the board and wash my hands. Mostly because I just don't want to get seed remnants everywhere. And then I'll wash the knife. So next up, I'm going to take a bunch of cilantro. Now, a mistake that some people make is they just don't use the stems. And the stems have so much flavor. This is probably more cilantro than that's needed, but it's what I'm going to use. So let me wash this. Now, yes, so I'm just gonna cut off the very ends of the stems. Those are probably dried out, and those will be part of the discard. Ideally, you want a discard bowl or a discard bag, but well, I'm just gonna cut off the stems for right now. And actually, we can do this first because they're more sturdy. So yes, a lot of people don't use the stems, and I don't understand that because there's so much flavor. In fact, I would say it's like at least 2 or 3 times the cilantro flavor is in the stems as opposed to the leaves. And for the leaves, I'm just gonna sort of double them over like this, and then chop them this way. Now, as soon as you start chopping leaves like this, any kind of herb, aromatic, whatever, you're starting the oxidation process or accelerating it for every little cut. So you want to get it into an acid pretty quickly if you want to maintain some of the color vibrancy, like the bright, vibrant, verdant green that it is, versus like a muddy brown, which is what it's going to turn pretty quickly. Let me wash my hands. Now, we still have to make the corn. Usually you want to do the herby stuff last, but that's just not what's happening here. So here's my bowl. Now actually, let's open the garlic first. So this is the container that has garlic in it. I'm going to use this container opener. And this side is dented in where, so you'll open it up and find the one that looks like it might fit. That one's probably a little bit too big, but there, fits okay. It goes underneath. Then you just pull like that, and it's so easy. Like, this is like the best container gripper that I've ever used. If I can try to find it, I will link it in the comments below. I've tried other types, just haven't figured it out. Okay, so this is like, you know, it's probably like a teaspoon. I really like garlic, so I'm gonna use 2. Maybe just a little bit more. There we go. And then to release it, you just pull it open and it falls out like that. Alright. I'm going to add some pepper. or rather black pepper. So I already have the Thai chili peppers in there. Now, before you add too much pepper, the purple onion is peppery. It's got a pepper kind of flavor. So you've got 3 different kinds of pepper-ish going on. You've got the chili pepper, the pepper from the purple onion, and then the black pepper that we just put on top. And then I'm going to take, let's see. Let me see if I can quickly roast some corn. So here's corn. Corn, in my opinion, is one of the easiest crops to grow if you're a backyard gardener. If you garden, you should try it. There's something very satisfying about it, mostly because it requires relatively little maintenance aside from, you know, putting in a good amount of water. Just break it like that. Yeah. And try and remove some of the silk. There might be a better way to remove the silk. If you have suggestions on better ways to remove corn silk, please put it in the comments below, because I would like to know. I like corn. But I never really seem to be super effective with removing the silk. Okay, so here we go. Okay, back with the corn. Now, what you want to do is very carefully cut the corn off the cob. I'm using tongs so I can minimize cutting myself. Roasted part, you don't want everything to be roasted, but the roasted part will, otherwise it'll just taste like a lot of burnt stuff. but it adds like another flavor dimension. And that's what we're looking for. A lot of times when you eat different foods, it's because you're searching for a bunch of different dimensions. And different flavors in one bite. Cilantro. I'm gonna give it a bit of a light toss. And break up some of the corn. And we're just gonna lightly toss all the things together. It smells really good. So you can see, even though we added a bunch of cilantro, it kind of just disappears. You can smell a bunch of garlic too, wafting up. So that's it. Also what you can do is you can take some avocado, little bits and pieces of it, and sprinkle it in just before you're eating it. You can add in lemon juice, or I like red wine vinegar to put it in, and then a little bit of water, and then we're gonna let this just sort of sit and marinate and blend flavors. Avocado will lend sort of a creaminess to it, but we want to hold off on that until just before ready to serve. So I hope you like it. please hit the like button, subscribe, and notification bell, and share it with anybody else who you think might enjoy it. Thank you. Bye.